By Friday at noon, I was supposed to transfer $40,000 to my son. That was the deadline Ryan gave me when he stood in my kitchen with his wife beside him and a printed bank form on the table. "You have until Friday," he said. "After that, the opportunity is gone." I looked at the form. It was a wire transfer request for $40,000 to a company I had never heard of. The description said, "Property Investment Deposit." "Why do you need my retirement money?" I asked. Ryan's wife, Dana, folded her arms. "It is not your retirement money," she said. "It is family money, sitting there while we are trying to build something." I looked at Ryan. He did not correct her. That was when I understood that the $40,000 was not being requested as help. It was being treated as an obligation. I was 66 years old, retired from a payroll office, and living on the savings my husband and I had built over 39 years. I had never owned a luxury car. I had never taken a first-class flight. I had never given my son a reason to believe my future belonged to him. But Ryan had his deadline. And for the next 3 days, my family would learn that a deadline only has power when the person holding the money agrees to obey it. My name is Helen Mercer. I had been a widow for 7 years when Ryan came to my kitchen asking for the largest amount of money I had ever been asked to give him. The kitchen had always been the center of our family life. My husband, Paul, had installed the oak cabinets himself. There was still a pencil mark inside the pantry where he had recorded Ryan's height as a child. Ryan used to stand beneath it and ask when he would be taller than his father. Paul always told him, "Soon." He said it for years. Paul died before Ryan became taller than him. After the funeral, Ryan helped with paperwork and repairs, but his visits became less frequent once the practical work was finished. He called when his car needed repairs, when his taxes were late, or when Dana wanted to renovate their house. I helped when I could. I paid a medical bill for their daughter, Sophie, when she needed surgery. I covered the deposit on a new furnace after their old one failed in winter. I sent money for groceries during a period when Ryan said his company had delayed payroll. Each time he promised it was temporary. Each time I believed him, because I wanted to believe that helping my son was different from being used by him. Ryan had always been intelligent. He could explain complicated things in a way that made people feel foolish for asking questions. Dana was more direct. She believed money was a family resource, and she did not see any reason to apologize for needing it. When I retired, she asked how much I had saved. I laughed because I thought she was joking. She was not. I told her I was comfortable, but not wealthy. She said comfortable people often misunderstood how expensive life had become. I remembered that conversation when Ryan placed the wire form on my table. He said he had found an opportunity to invest in a small commercial property with 2 partners. The property would be renovated and leased to a medical practice. He needed $40,000 by Friday to secure his share. "What happens if I say no?" I asked. He looked surprised. "You are not going to say no." That was not my question. Dana leaned toward the table. "If you say no, we lose the deposit. Ryan loses his position. We may have to sell our house." I looked at the form again. The receiving company was registered in another state. There was no property address. There was no partnership agreement. There was no written return schedule. "Where is the contract?" I asked. Ryan sighed. "Mom, this is not a college project. The documents are being finalized." "Then the money is not being transferred until I see them." Dana gave a small laugh. "There it is." "What?" "The suspicion. Every time the family needs something, you turn it into an investigation." "I am asking where $40,000 is going." "You are acting as if Ryan is a stranger." "No, I am asking because he is my son." Ryan stood up. "You have until Friday at noon. If we miss it, do not blame us when the opportunity disappears." He took the wire form and left it on the table. Dana followed him to the door. Before she left, she turned back. "Everyone in the family knows you have money," she said. "You cannot keep pretending you are the only person affected by your decisions." After they left, I sat at the table until the tea in front of me went cold. I was not angry because Ryan needed money. I was embarrassed that he had placed a deadline on my savings and expected me to feel ashamed if I did not meet it. I called my sister Nora. Nora had worked as a financial advisor before retiring. She was the only person in the family who knew the general shape of my accounts. She did not know every balance, and I had never given her access. But Paul and I had used her office for our retirement planning. "Ryan wants $40,000 by Friday," I told her. "Does he have a contract?" "No." "Does he have an address for the property?" "No." "Does he have a repayment schedule?" "No." "Then he has a deadline, not an investment." I laughed despite myself. Nora told me not to transfer anything until I had independent documentation. She also asked whether Ryan knew about all of my accounts. "I thought he knew about the retirement account Paul and I used. What about the old pension rollover?" I was silent. Nora asked whether I remembered the account Paul had moved after his employer changed administrators. I remembered signing papers, but I thought the money had been consolidated into my regular retirement account. "I do not know," I said. "Look for the old statements. Do not use any link Ryan sends you. Call the institution directly." That night, I searched the filing cabinet in my bedroom. I found tax records, insurance policies, Paul's medical receipts, and a folder with a faded blue label. Inside was an account statement from 8 years earlier. The account was still open. The balance was larger than I expected. It was not $40,000. It was more than enough to change my retirement plan, but not enough to make me wealthy. The account had been created when Paul's former employer merged its pension program. We had intended to roll it into my main retirement account after his death, but the paperwork had stalled during the months when I was recovering from surgery. I had forgotten it. Ryan had not known about it because I had forgotten it existed. I called the institution using the phone number printed on the statement. After verifying my identity, the representative confirmed that the account was active and entirely in my name. The money was protected for retirement. It could be accessed under certain conditions, but no one else had authority over it. I did not feel relief. I felt ashamed that I had almost considered transferring $40,000 from my main account simply because Ryan had sounded certain. The next morning, Ryan called. "Did you send it?" he asked. "No." "Mom, we discussed this." "No, you announced a deadline." He breathed out sharply. "The deposit has to be in by Friday." You have not shown me a contract. The contract is being finalized. You have not shown me the property address. It is in the documents. Which documents? He was silent. I could hear Dana speaking in the background. Ryan said, "You are making this about trust. It is about $40,000. You trust me with family matters. I trust you to be responsible for the financial decisions you make. That does not mean I fund them." He said I was changing the terms of our relationship. I told him I had never agreed to the terms he was using. He hung up. By Wednesday afternoon, Dana had told the family that I was refusing to help Ryan after promising to support his future. My cousin called to ask whether something had happened. "What promise?" I asked. She said Dana had told everyone I offered to finance Ryan's investment and then withdrew at the last minute. That is not true. Then I opened the family group chat. Dana had written that Ryan had found a rare opportunity, but some people cared more about protecting their money than supporting their children. Ryan responded with a sad face emoji. His sister Melissa wrote that families should not be divided by money. Nobody asked me what had happened. They had accepted the version that made me the selfish one. I wanted to reply with the missing contract, the missing address, and the fact that Ryan had threatened to sell his house if I did not transfer the money. Nora called before I typed anything. "Do not defend yourself in a group chat," she said. "How did you know?" "Because you sound like someone holding a phone." She told me to preserve the messages and keep communication in writing. She also asked whether Dana or Ryan had access to any of my accounts. No. Any old power of attorney? Only the temporary one from Paul's illness. I canceled it after the funeral. Find the cancellation letter. I did. It was in the same blue folder as the forgotten retirement statement. The old power of attorney had been revoked 7 years earlier. Ryan had no legal access to my money. He only had the confidence of someone who had never been forced to hear no. On Thursday morning, Ryan arrived at my house without calling. He looked tired. His shirt was wrinkled, and there were dark circles beneath his eyes. For a moment, I saw the boy who used to stand beneath the pantry mark, waiting to become taller than his father. Then he put another form on my table. "This is the final transfer instruction," he said. I did not touch it. "Where is the partnership agreement?" "We do not have time for this." "You have until Friday." You know what I mean. He said the property owner was pressuring the investors. The partners had already committed. If his money did not arrive, the entire deal would collapse. "How much have you invested?" I asked. $20,000. "From where?" He looked away. "From our savings." "Then why do you need $40,000 from me?" "Because the deposit increased." "Why?" "Because the opportunity improved." Nothing in his explanation had a shape I could hold. I asked for the name of the other investors. He said one was a friend and the other was a private lender. I asked why a private lender was not covering the additional amount. He said the lender had changed terms. I asked why he was not selling something, delaying the investment, or walking away. He said I was treating him like a child. "I am treating you like an adult who is asking me for a large amount of money without showing me what it is for." Dana came in through the front door. I had not heard her car. She carried a folder of her own. "You are making him beg," she said. No one is begging. I am asking for documentation. She opened her folder and pulled out a photograph of a renovated brick building. This is the property, she said. The photograph could have been taken from any listing online. It did not show an address. I need the full documents. Dana's mouth tightened. Do you know what the family is saying about you? I have seen the group chat. They are disappointed. They are disappointed because they were told a story before I was asked a question. Ryan said he would repay the money within 18 months. I asked him to write that down. He looked offended. You do not trust me. I trust written agreements more than promises made under a deadline. Dana said I was humiliating him. I told her that asking for documentation was not humiliation. It was the ordinary responsibility of someone protecting retirement money. Ryan stood up. If you do not transfer the money by noon tomorrow, we will lose everything. No, I said, you will lose an investment opportunity. He stared at me. You do not understand what is at stake. I understand exactly what is at stake. Your decision is at stake. Your house is at stake. Your savings are at stake. My retirement is at stake. Those are not the same thing. He left with Dana. I remained at the table. The countdown had begun to feel less like pressure and more like a test. Would I rescue him because he was my son? Or would I make him responsible for the risk he had chosen? That afternoon, Nora helped me review the old retirement account. She explained that the money was not a secret emergency fund. It had been part of Paul's pension, rolled into a protected account for my later years. Accessing it early would create taxes and possibly penalties. More importantly, using it to cover Ryan's business risk would weaken the plan Paul and I had built. I forgot this account, I said. You forgot the account. You did not forget your future. I asked whether I should use any money to help Ryan. Nora said that was a personal decision. She could tell me what I could afford, but she could not tell me what Ryan deserved. That distinction mattered. I decided not to transfer the $40,000. I also decided not to reveal the forgotten account to anyone in the family. It was not a weapon. It was mine. On Thursday evening, Melissa called me. She was Ryan's older sister, and she had always tried to stay neutral. Neutrality was easier when the conflict involved other people's money. Mom, she said, Ryan is under a lot of pressure. I know. He says you promised to help. I did not. He thinks you are punishing him because of Dana. I am not punishing anyone. I am refusing to transfer money without documentation. She said family should help family. I asked whether she would give Ryan $40,000 without seeing a contract. She said it was different because she did not have that kind of money. Then you understand why I need to protect mine, I said. She became quiet. I told her I loved Ryan, but love did not require me to approve every risk he took. She said Dana had told the family that I kept more money than I admitted. I asked what she meant. Melissa said Dana believed I had another account. I looked toward the filing cabinet. How would she know that? I do not know. She said you told Ryan once that Paul had left you enough to be comfortable. I had said that years earlier. before I understood how quickly an innocent sentence could become a family expectation. I asked Melissa not to repeat anything about my accounts. She promised. That night, I wrote down the financial favors I had given Ryan and Dana during the previous 7 years. The furnace deposit, Sophie's surgery, car insurance, groceries, school fees, and an emergency hotel after their basement flooded added up to more than $40,000. I had already transferred that amount in smaller pieces without calling it an investment. Ryan had asked for $40,000 as if I had never helped him before. Dana had told the family I was selfish, as if every earlier transfer had vanished when it left my account. I put the list away. I was not going to use the past as a weapon. But I was done pretending it had not happened. Friday morning arrived. At 9 o'clock, Ryan sent a message. The final wire must be received by noon. Please do not make me regret trusting you. I read it several times. He had turned my refusal into a betrayal of his trust. At 10:30, a courier delivered an envelope from Ryan's attorney. It was not a partnership agreement. It was a letter stating that Ryan expected financial support for an opportunity he believed I had verbally promised to fund. The letter did not threaten a lawsuit. It did not have legal weight. It was designed to frighten me. I called the attorney's office using the number on the letter. I asked whether the letter represented a binding claim. The assistant said it was a request for clarification, not a legal filing. I thanked her and ended the call. At 11 o'clock, Ryan arrived again. This time, he brought no folder. He looked at me through the doorway. "Have you sent it?" he asked. "No." His face tightened. "The deadline is in 1 hour." "I know." He said Dana's parents had offered to lend them part of the money, but only if he could show that my transfer was coming. He said their house was already listed for sale. He said the investors were waiting. I asked whether the property deal was still available. He said yes. I asked whether the contract had been signed. He said no. I asked whether any independent advisor had reviewed it. He said the investors did not want outsiders involved. I opened the door wider. "Then you are asking me to become the outsider who pays for everyone else's decision." He stepped inside. "Mom, I need you." "I believe you." "Then help me." Helping you does not mean sending $40,000 into an undocumented deal. He started crying. It was the first time I had seen him cry since Paul's funeral. For one terrible second, I wanted to take him in my arms and tell him I would fix it. Then I remembered the wire form, the family messages, the deadline, and Dana's sentence about family money. I said, "I am sorry you are afraid, but fear does not make this a safe investment." He wiped his face. "You have plenty." I did not answer. "You have that other account," he said. The room went still. "How do you know about it?" He looked toward the hallway. Dana found a statement when she helped clean out the storage cabinet. I had never given Dana permission to search my files. "What statement?" "The old pension account." I asked whether he knew the balance. He said Dana had seen enough to believe I could cover the transfer. I told him that account belonged to my retirement and that no one had permission to use information from my private papers to calculate what I could give them. He said he thought the account was sitting unused. It is not unused. It is reserved for the years after I stop working. You are already retired. Exactly. He looked at the clock. Please, Mom. The old Helen would have opened the account and told him I would fix it. But that woman had already paid for other people's emergencies until her future became something she discussed in whispers. I am not transferring the money, I said. Ryan stared at me. Then I have nothing more to say. You have several things to say. You just do not want to say them to the family. He walked out. At noon, the investment deadline passed. Ryan's opportunity disappeared, exactly as he had predicted. But his life did not end. He still had his home. He still had his job. He still had the savings he and Dana had already invested. He had lost a risky opportunity, not his future. That afternoon, Dana sent me a message. You have damaged this family beyond repair. I replied, I refused one undocumented transfer. Please do not describe that as damage to the family. She wrote, you will regret being selfish when Ryan succeeds without you. I did not answer. The family group chat became quiet for several days. Then Melissa called. She said Ryan's investment partners had changed the terms again and that the deal had not been as secure as he had claimed. One of the partners had already backed out. Did Ryan tell you? I asked. No, I heard from his sister-in-law. I sat down. The $40,000 would not have saved a stable investment. It would have carried a failing one further down the road. She said she understood now. Understanding came late, but it came. A week later, Ryan asked to meet me without Dana. We sat at a quiet cafe near the library. He looked older than he had before the deadline. I was angry, he said. I know. I thought you were keeping something from me. I was keeping my private accounts private. He said Dana had found the old statement and believed the account had enough money to solve everything. She had told him I was being difficult because I wanted control. I asked him why he believed that instead of asking me. He said because it was easier to believe I was selfish than to admit he had taken a risk he could not afford. That was the first honest thing he had said. I told him about the smaller transfers I had made over the years. I did not show him the list. I did not need him to calculate what he owed me. I needed him to understand that the $40,000 was not the first time he had looked at my money before looking at me. He apologized. Then he asked whether I would help him review his finances. I said I would recommend an independent advisor. I would not become his lender, accountant, or emergency fund. He nodded. Do you still trust me? He asked. I trust you to make better choices if you accept responsibility for the choices you make. Is that a yes? It is a condition. He accepted that too. Dana did not apologize. She said I had embarrassed her by making the family believe she had searched my files. I had not told the family. She had told them about my money first. I changed the locks on my filing cabinet. I updated my account passwords. I moved the old pension account into a retirement plan that required direct verification from me before any transfer could happen. I did not announce these changes. A boundary does not become stronger because everyone hears about it. Sometimes it becomes stronger when nobody knows exactly where it is. Sophie visited during spring break and asked whether her father had lost the building, because I said no. He lost the chance to invest in it, I told her. He did not lose his future. She said Dana believed I had more money than I needed. I told her every dollar I had was connected to time I might need later. I did not ask Sophie to choose between her parents and me. Children should not be made responsible for adult financial arguments. He paid back the money I had given them for Sophie's surgery over several months. I told him he did not have to repay old gifts. I know, he said. I want to repay what I can, so I stopped pretending none of it happened. That sentence mattered more than the money. Our relationship changed slowly. Ryan still called when he needed advice, but he began with questions instead of announcements. He stopped asking about my account balances. He asked before opening drawers in my house. He never mentioned the forgotten pension account again. Dana remained distant. I accepted that. I did not need her to approve my boundary for it to be real. Later, Ryan told me he had spent years believing that being an adult meant never needing anyone. Then he had treated my money as proof that I owed him another chance to become successful. I told him success was not a debt he could collect from his mother. He said he knew. The account remained part of my future. I used some of it later for a medical procedure. I used some to take a train trip through the mountains. I paid for a new roof without calling anyone for help. That was what Ryan had not understood. He thought my savings were sitting there, waiting for the most urgent family request. He did not see the years behind them. He did not see Paul working overtime, me checking payroll records late at night, or the decisions we made to keep a little money for the years when our bodies would not cooperate with our plans. He saw a number. I saw our life. People sometimes tell me I should have helped because $40,000 would not have ruined me. They may be right about the number, but they miss the larger question. If I had transferred it, Ryan might have saved the deal, or he might have lost it and come back for more. I would have become the answer to a problem I did not create. Saying no made Ryan responsible for his own risk. The deadline had seemed powerful when he placed it on my kitchen table. By Friday at noon, I was supposed to believe that the family's future depended on my obedience. But when noon arrived, nothing magical happened. The bank did not punish me. The family did not disappear. The house did not collapse. My son had to face an investment he could not afford. And I had to face the truth that his urgency did not create an obligation in me. That was the real reversal. The money in the old account was not the thing I discovered. I discovered that I could protect my future without asking permission from the people who expected to spend it. Ryan and I are still family. We speak, we visit. I love Sophie and I care about my son. But help is no longer automatic. When Ryan tells me about an opportunity, I ask for documents. When Dana says the family needs something, I ask who agreed to pay. When someone tells me I have until Friday, I ask what happens if I choose Monday. Sometimes the answer is that the opportunity disappears. Sometimes that is exactly what needs to happen. The old blue folder sits in my safe, beneath Paul's marriage certificate and the photograph of the pantry mark. I keep the account statement because it reminds me of two things. The first is that a forgotten resource can still belong to you. The second is that being a loving parent does not require you to become a careless one. My son called me selfish for refusing $40,000. His wife told the family I cared more about money than his future. They expected me to feel ashamed for protecting the years I had left. Instead, I opened the account they thought I had forgotten, secured it for myself, and let the deadline pass without moving a single dollar. The money stayed where Paul and I had put it, and for the first time, so did I.